Good morning, America, or at least, what was supposed to be a good morning on August 12, 2025, when the sun rose over the bustling streets of New York City, casting a golden hue on the glass facade of ABC's broadcast center in Times Square, where the hum of early commuters mingled with the distant honk of taxis and the faint aroma of street vendors firing up their carts for another day of pretzels and coffee that could wake the dead. Inside the gleaming studios of Good Morning America, the set was a symphony of controlled chaos, with producers darting like shadows behind the cameras, lighting techs adjusting spots to capture that perfect glow on the hosts' faces, and makeup artists wielding brushes like weapons against the tyranny of a single out-of-place hair, all in service of delivering the nation's wake-up call. A blend of hard-hitting headlines, heartwarming human interest pieces, and celebrity segments designed to inject just enough glamour into the grind of getting kids to school and bosses to meetings. At the helm was George Stephanopoulos, the silver-haired sage of morning TV, whose piercing blue eyes and measured baritone had steered the show through scandals, elections, and everything in between since his days as a White House advisor turned network anchor, his resume a testament to navigating power plays from Pennsylvania Avenue to primetime panels, where every word was a chess move in the game of public perception. Today, the guest list promised a respite from the week's relentless news cycle, torrential rains in the Midwest, stock market jitters over AI regulations, and whispers of a celebrity divorce that had tabloids salivating. But the real draw was country music icon Blake Shelton, the towering Oklahoman with a voice like aged whiskey and a grin that could charm the hide off a Longhorn, fresh off a sold-out tour and buzzing about his new docuseries Road to Glory, a raw dive into the backroads of his career that promised unfiltered tales of heartbreak, hit records, and the kind of small-town wisdom that made him a household name. Blake, at 49, was the picture of rugged Americana, faded jeans hugging his lanky frame, a crisp button-down rolled to the elbows revealing forearms etched from ranch life, scuffed boots that had seen more dirt than a dust bowl, and that signature backward baseball cap perched like a crown on his tousled blonde hair, his easy Oklahoma drawl ready to spin yarns about fishing holes and first loves that felt like front porch confessions rather than scripted sound bites. The segment kicked off with the familiar GMA fanfare, that upbeat orchestral swell that signals joy incoming, as co-hosts Robin Roberts and Michael Strahan flanked George, their smiles beacons of positivity, Robin's radiant energy a counterpoint to Michael's athletic charisma, the trio welcoming Blake with applause that echoed off the studio walls like thunder rolling over the plains. Blake Shelton, welcome back to GMA. It's always a good day when you're here, George intoned, his tone warm as fresh biscuits, extending a handshake that lingered just long enough to convey collegiality, while the live audience, a mix of die-hard fans clutching tour tees and casual viewers lured by free swag, erupted in cheers that vibrated the floor. Cameras panned smoothly, capturing the plush blue couch where Blake settled like he owned the place, legs stretched out in relaxed sprawl, his laugh booming as he quipped, "George, if mornings were any brighter with you folks, I'd need sunglasses and trust me, I've stared down brighter stage lights than these." Laughter rippled through the set, genuine and unforced, easing the transition into the interview's meat. Blake's evolution from barroom crooner in Ada, Oklahoma, to the voice coach extraordinaire, where his folksy feuds with Adam Levine had minted TV gold, and now, with Gwen Stefani by his side and a fairy tale romance that tabloids couldn't tarnish, he was rebranding as the philosopher king of country, his lyrics dissecting love's labor lost in hits like God's Country that painted divinity in dirt roads and dawns. George nodded appreciatively, steering with the finesse of a seasoned interviewer. "You've built this empire on authenticity, Blakey, raw, real stories that hit home. Tell us, with Road to Glory, are we finally getting the unvarnished truth behind the mullet era?" Blake chuckled, rubbing his chin as if summoning ghosts, launching into a vivid recount of his wild 20s, midnights and smoke-filled dives where the beer was cheap and the heartbreak free-flowing, his voice dropping to that gravelly timbre that made every syllable sing, the audience leaning in like kids at story time, hanging on tales of dodged bullets, a literal and figurative, from bar fights to bad contracts that nearly sank his ship before it sailed. Robin chimed in with a question about his philanthropy, the Blake Shelton Farmers Fund that had bailed out storm-ravaged ranchers, her eyes misty as he described airlifting hay to flood zones, a hero's humility shining through that made you forget the multi-million-dollar mansion he shared with Gwen in Encino. Michael, ever the bro, pivoted to lighter fare, grilling him on ranch life with Stephania. "All got chickens now, Blake herdin' hens?" A drawing belly laughs that shook the couch, Blake retorting with a wink, "Man, Gwen's the boss, I'm just the guy fetchin' eggs and dodgin' her glares when I track mud in." The vibe was electric, a perfect bubble of banter and backstreet, sunlight streaming through the studio windows like approval from above, producers in the booth exchanging thumbs-ups as ratings ticked upward in real time. This the kind of segment that goes viral for all the right reasons, feel-good fuel for the soul. But as the clock edged toward the halfway mark, with a commercial break teasing weather woes and a teaser for the next guest, a rising pop sensation, George shifted gears, his posture straightening like a diplomat prepping for tough talk, eyes locking onto Blake's with that journalistic intensity honed in press rooms and debate halls. "Blake, you've always been the voice of the heartland, championing blue-collar values, family, faith, but lately, there's been chatter your comments on social media about woke culture in Nashville, calling out labels for pushing agendas over artistry. Fans love the straight talk, but critics say it's divisive, especially in an election year. Where's the line between authenticity and alienating folks?" The question landed like a stone in still water, ripples spreading as Blake's easy smile faltered for a nanosecond, his fingers drumming the couch arm, a telltale tick from poker nights back home, the studio hush falling thicker than fog over the Hudson, cameras zooming in to catch every flicker of expression of the way his jaw set firm, blue eyes narrowing under the brim of his cap, the audience murmuring like wind through wheat fields sensing a storm brewing. This wasn't the softball promo pitch, it was a probe, George's specialty, drawing from his ABC News playbook where no story simmered unchallenged, but in the frothy confines of morning TV, it felt like a curveball aimed at the ribs. Blake's Oklahoma candor suddenly spotlit under a microscope of coastal scrutiny. He'd posted those tweets months back, fiery threads railing against manufactured hits that prioritized pronouns over pedal steel, his follower count spiking among red state faithful while Hollywood insiders rolled eyes, whispering hillbilly hot take at galas he skipped for tractor pulls. Now, live on GMA, with millions tuning in over oatmeal and commutes, the clash ignited, Blake leaning forward, voice steady but edged like barbed wire. "George, look, I ain't here to preach politics, I'm here about music that moves folks, stories from the gut, not some boardroom checklist." If calling out fake feels divisive, well, maybe the divide's been there all along, hiding behind pretty filters. George's nod was neutral, but his follow-up sliced deeper. "Fair point, but with your platform a coaching on The Voice, influencing young artists, doesn't that straight talk risk echoing broader cultural wars, turning country into a battlefield?" The air crackled, Robin's smile straining at the edges, Michael's brow furrowing in silent arbitration, as Blake's retort built like a chorus crescendo. "Cultural wars? Hell, George, the real war's on forgetting where we come from, a farmer's low-sin land to developers, kids dreaming big but getting funneled into echo chambers. I speak for them, not agendas." The exchange escalated, words volleying like a tennis rally gone rogue, George's questions probing like scalpels. "But isn't this selective authenticity? You embrace no doubt collabs with Gwen, pop country fusion, yet decry woke when it suits." A Blake firing back with barbs honed on turbuses. "Selective? Try surviving in this town without selling a piece of your soul. I blend worlds cause life's messy, not cause some suit says so." The audience shifted uneasily, applause sporadic now, phones capturing clips destined for TikTok tempests, producers signaling frantically through glass for a soft land, but the heat held, a powder keg of politics and persona where Blake's everyman ethos clashed with George's elite interrogative, the set transforming from sunny salon to verbal coliseum under the unblinking eye of broadcast history. As the back and forth peaked, with Blake's volume rising like a guitar solo shredding silence. "You wanna talk division? Try hosting a show that peddles feel-good fluff while the heartland burns." A George parried coolly, "We're here for truth, Blake, All of it, even the uncomfortable parts that challenge our heroes. Tension peaked, a taut wire humming, until in a move that stunned the control room, Blake surged to his feet, McPack dangling like a discarded lifeline, his chair scraping harshly against the floor, face flushed under the lights as he muttered, "Truth? This ain't truth, it's a gotcha game," before striding off set, boots thudding past stunned crew, vanishing into the wings like a twister, touching down and lifting off, leaving George mid-sentence, the hosts frozen in tableau, and America agape over breakfast tables from coast to coast. In the stunned aftermath of Blake Shelton's seismic exit, the GMA studio hung suspended in a vacuum of awkward silence, the kind that amplifies every rustle and whisper like echoes in an empty arena, cameras lingering on the vacant couch spot where moments ago the country crooner had commanded the space with his larger-than-life presence, now just indented cushions bearing witness to the whirlwind that had swept through, leaving behind a debris field of dropped jaws and frantic producer hand signals flashing like distress beacons from the booth. George Stephanopoulos, unflappable as ever yet betrayed by the slightest furrow in his brow, a rare chink in the armor of the man who'd grilled presidents without blinking, recovered first, his voice steady as a metronome resuming tempo. "Well, folks, that was unexpected." Blake Shelton, always keeping it rela. "Let's take a quick break as we process that energy." Cut to commercial with unnatural haste, the screen filling with ads for antacids and alarm clocks. Ironic panaceas for the indigestion of drama just served, while backstage, chaos reigned in equal measure, stagehands parting like the Red Sea as Blake barreled toward his dressing room, entourage in tow, a manager barking into a phone, publicist scrolling crisis protocols on her tablet, a lone intern clutching a half-eaten bagel frozen mid-bite, doors slamming with the finality of a gavel, the corridor reverberating with the aftershocks of what insiders would later dub the Times Square tempest. Back on set, as the break ticked down to seconds, Robin Roberts leaned toward George off mic, her whisper audible in the pin-drop quiet, "You okay?" That escalated quick, to which Michael Strahan added a low rumble, "Man, Blake's fiery, love him, but damn." The trio huddling in a makeshift powwow, producers feeding revised cues through earpieces like lifelines, debating whether to acknowledge, pivot, or pretend the elephant hadn't just stampeded the savannah. When the show resumed, the transition was masterfully manicured, a weather segment with ginger-haired Sam Champion beaming about sunny skies as if to exorcise the storm clouds, followed by a puff piece on artisanal honey farms that felt absurdly serene, the audiencia still buzzing like a hive, disturbed clapping on cue but eyes darting to the empty guest spot, whispers circulating of "Did that just happen?" and "Play it back." As social media ignited faster than dry tinder under a match, Twitter and now X, but old habits die hard, exploded with #Blake walks trending nationwide within minutes, posts cascading like digital dominoes. Shelton just torched GMA. George got owned #country strong. From a fan in Tulsa, hearts raining down overreaction. Much public figure dodges tough apathetic #grow up Blake, countered a coastal critic, quote tweets piling up clips, grainy from living room screens, looped endlessly, Blake's parting shot dissected frame by frame, his silhouette striding away, a silhouette of defiance etched in viewers' minds. YouTube channels, ever the vultures of virality, uploaded raw footage ripped from DVRs. Thumbnails screaming shocking exit, Blake vs. George unfiltered. Racking views by the thousands, monetized outrage fueling algorithms that thrived on schadenfreude served hot. Pundits piled on across the spectrum, of Fox News framing it as Hollywood elitism versus Heartland hero, with a smirking Sean Hannity opining, "Blake said what we're all thinking, media's lost its way, chasing clicks over conversation." CNN's panel, led by its keen Don Lemon successor, countering, "This is performative populism, as Shelton's no victim, he's a symptom of echo chamber entitlement." Debates devolving into the usual trench warfare of talking heads trading barbs over borrowed coffee mugs. Meanwhile, in the digital trenches, Shelton's camp went into lockdown mode, his official X account posting a cryptic sunset over Oklahoma plains captioned "Some roads rougher than others, so keep driving," likes surging into six figures, while Gwen Stefani, queen of cool under pressure, tweeted a heart emoji and a nod to their duet "Happy Anywhere." A subtle show of solidarity that quelled divorce rumors before they could bloom, but the real ripple effects coursed through Nashville's veins, where Music Row buzzed like a switchboard overloaded, label execs fielding calls from rattled sponsors, wary of associating with a powder keg, fellow artists weighing Ina Miranda Lambert, ex and eternal ally, posting a throwback tour pic with Ride or Die, brother # Blake Strong Post Malone, unlikely voice comrade, dropping a voice note on Igliv, yo, Blake's real off-fam media twists everything.